Hello everyone and welcome to today's Explainer. Right now, we are staring down a potentially massive and honestly kind of hidden global energy crisis coming in 2026. This goes way beyond what we're paying at the pump. We're talking about a brand new global energy battlefield that's quietly forming in the background, one that has the very real potential to completely reshape the global economy.
Okay, let's dive into this. Are we already in a global oil crisis without even realizing it? While most of us don't realize it yet as we go about our daily lives, the warning signs of a new crisis are literally already here. We're seeing this dangerous, almost perfect storm of rising costs, geopolitical friction, and incredibly vulnerable supply chains. The global economy might actually be walking right into a firestorm, and today we're going to map out exactly how and why this is happening.
Here's the roadmap for our explainer today. We'll start with the invisible oil crisis, then look at why oil still rules, the Middle East flashpoint, the global economic shockwave, the geopolitical power struggle, and finally, two possible futures.
Section 1. The Invisible Oil Crisis. The 2026 Threat Hiding in Plain Sight.
You know, what's really interesting about this is that behind closed doors, governments and central banks worldwide are quietly but actively preparing for a period of major economic uncertainty. We usually tend to look at the daily news as isolated incidents, right? Like a conflict over here, a shipping delay over there, maybe a slight uptick in commodity prices. But look at how these elements are actually converging. Rising oil prices, escalating global tensions, and threatened shipping routes are all hitting at the exact same time as we approach 2026. These seemingly disconnected events are braiding themselves together to create the biggest global story of the year.
Section 2. Why oil still rules, the lifeblood of the 2026 global economy.
Before we can really grasp the sheer scale of this crisis, we absolutely have to acknowledge our baseline dependency. I mean, despite a massive push for green energy globally, oil remains the undisputed king. Transportation, shipping, manufacturing, agriculture, electricity, military operations, even heading into 2026, almost everything depends on oil. From the trucks delivering your groceries, to the massive factories building our electronics, right down to the tractors harvesting crops, our modern daily lives rely completely on this single commodity flowing without interruption.
The reality is simple, but honestly, it's pretty terrifying. When oil prices rise sharply, the effects spread everywhere. Think about it. Higher prices mean your airline tickets go up. Factories are forced to slow down production just to manage their costs. The cost to produce and transport food spikes, which means your grocery bill surges. Ultimately, inflation hits ordinary people incredibly hard, which is exactly why a global oil crisis is basically the ultimate nightmare scenario for economic planners.
Section 3. The Middle East flashpoint. The trigger mechanism for a global crisis.
Now, the Middle East obviously remains the world's most important oil-producing center, but recent tensions with Iran, regional militias, drone attacks, and rapid military buildups are stoking massive supply fears. And this brilliantly illustrates the core vulnerability, which boils down to the Strait of Hormuz. This is a narrow Middle Eastern waterway that serves as the world's absolute most critical oil artery. Every single day, a massive percentage of the world's global shipment squeezes through this incredibly narrow channel. If a conflict blocks or even temporarily disrupts this specific choke point, the supply shock would be instantaneous and global prices could skyrocket within a matter of hours.
And look, we aren't dealing in hypotheticals anymore. Markets are reacting right now. Insurance costs for shipping companies daring to navigate these waters, they are rapidly rising. Military patrols in the region are visibly increasing, and governments around the world are monitoring the whole situation with extreme caution. History proves for sure that whenever instability hits these specific producing regions, the entire world feels the immediate consequences.
Section 4. The global economic shockwave, tracing the blast radius of rising prices.
This danger extends far beyond just what we pay at the fuel pump. It actively threatens global economic growth. So the crucial point is seeing this chronological domino effect clearly. It starts with step 1, regional instability, like the military tensions near the Strait of Hormuz. That immediately triggers step 2, rising shipping and insurance costs, which acts as a massive friction on global trade. That extra cost gets passed directly to us, the public, in step 3, consumer inflation, where literally everything costs more. And finally, as central banks desperately struggle to manage that inflation, we hit step 4, global recession risk. It demonstrates perfectly how a distant geopolitical event translates directly into slowing supply chains worldwide.
Now, while that recession risk hangs really heavily over major importers like Europe and Asia, it's actually the developing nations that may suffer the absolute brunt of this.
They're staring down four massive economic hurdles: rising transportation costs, suddenly expensive imports, currency instability, and much higher inflation. When global supply chains get bottlenecked, the nations with fewer economic buffers are the ones pushed closest to the edge.
Section 5. The geopolitical power struggle. How superpowers are weaponizing the moment. You see, energy has completely evolved from a matter of pure economics into a high-stakes tool for strategic global control. We're looking at a stark contrast in strategic priorities right now. On one side, the U.S. and Western focus is squarely centered on protecting global shipping routes and maintaining stability in the energy markets. They want the current system to keep flowing smoothly. On the flip side, the BRICS nations are focused on discussing ways to actually reduce their dependence on Western financial systems and the U.S. dollar and energy trade altogether. It shows a world deeply, fundamentally divided on what the future of energy trade should even look like.
Breaking down the actions of specific global powers makes this massive chess match even clearer. China is actively increasing its energy partnerships across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East, locking in long-term influence and supply. Meanwhile, Russia continues to use its vast energy exports directly as a strategic geopolitical tool. Basically, everyone is maneuvering to secure energy security and leverage amidst this global vulnerability. In today's world, energy is strategy.
Section 6. Two possible futures. The desperate pivot to alternatives.
All right, so we've reached a major crossroads here, and the world is currently staring down two very different paths. Scenario A is the optimistic path. Tensions calm down, oil markets stabilize, and a major global crisis is successfully avoided. But look at Scenario B. Regional conflicts escalate, critical supply is disrupted, prices surge dramatically, and severe economic instability begins. I want to make sure you understand just how massive the stakes are resting on how these current tensions resolve.
Honestly, governments are genuinely terrified of Scenario B. And because of that mounting fear, they are rapidly accelerating emergency investments across four key areas: renewable energy, electric vehicles, alternative supply chains, and hoarding strategic oil reserves. They know they need to build buffers, and build them fast, to insulate their economies from the shockwaves of an unpredictable oil market.
The ultimate takeaway here is crystal clear. The world's dependence on oil remains one of its biggest vulnerabilities. Despite all the incredible technological advancements of the 21st century, the warning signs of this incoming crisis are rooted in a very old problem, and it's becoming literally impossible for world leaders to ignore.
So, what does this all mean for us? I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought. Could this actually become the next massive global economic crisis, or will the world figure out a way to avoid another oil shock? Can the ticking clock be stopped before the dominoes fall? Think about it. Stay curious, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.